you describe to us some of the things you have to do differently now? You mentioned cooking is more challenging now. What are some of the other things that you do now that are different from what you used to do?
Well, there's no how-to booklet for dementia. One of the things that happened almost immediately is I lost the ability to tie my shoes. So what I've discovered is that bungee cords really work wonderful. You never have to tie them. You never have to tie them. The other thing is that for some of us, we have problems with our balance. And when I'm in the shower, I was always having difficulty washing my hair. So I discovered, once again, trial and error, goggles. Just put on goggles while you're in the shower, and then you don't have to worry about soap getting in your eyes or anything else, and you don't have to shut them. And that way you keep your balance. And I think the other thing is that we assume that we're going to lose so many of those things that mean so much to us in our daily lives. And in reality, if we can simply figure out mechanisms to work around them, we can really, really enjoy our life as fully as we possibly can. And my dog plays a big role in my life. The dog knows when I'm having a good day. And the dog also knows when I'm having a bad day. And if I'm having a bad day, the dog will almost stop me from going outside. And we've built up this incredible rapport between the two of us. And she's not only become, I think, my best friend, but I think my best protector. And I'm grateful for that.
Mostly what I do now is read a lot more.
Oh, yeah?
And I know a lot of people think I can't read and understand it, but I can, because when people ask me about reading, they imply, or some of them say, well, you don't understand it. And I said, have you got half an hour? I'll tell you what I'm reading right now. And yes, I understand what I read. So I don't have a lot of frustrations because my husband cleans the house. He does all of the things that need to be done around the home. And we're very close and have been close since we married at 20. So I don't have a lot of frustrations.
And how about you, Chris? Are there things you do differently now?
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
Basically, I've lost a lot of independence, so I no longer drive. So I've had to learn, pride is a good thing, but it can get in the way if you're not able to ask for help. So I've had to learn to ask for help. I've had to learn to ask for drives. I've had to learn patience, because when somebody else is doing it, you're not just jumping in the car and doing what you want. So to be on somebody else's schedule. I've had to learn to let go of a lot of control issues that I had personally, because it was, I'll do the bills and I'll do the banking and I'll do this. And it's kind of nice too. They're not all negative. I'm enjoying that I don't have to do that anymore, but it was a little scary to put it into somebody else's hands at the time. So my husband has had to take over all of that. He has had to take over all the cooking. And he has had to take over decision making. And that's really hard because he's not a decision maker. I made, and he needed that because I was a doer, so that's been a challenge for him. So we've had to really work together to do the changes. I've had to learn when I go shopping to ask people for help in the store, because I can't bag the groceries. That's just too overwhelming. Sometimes I can't count the money. So I've had to just say, here, and the little girl comes back in me that doesn't want to feel stupid, so I always seem to be saying, I've got a medical problem. Can you please count my change? So they're all new. That's all new. You have to learn a way to cope with it and to be acceptable. So not driving was a biggie. Learning to clean the house differently. Learning to be on the computer differently. I can't be on the computer for an hour or half hour, 10-minute max. And the doctor said, just do that, like 10 minutes, because it gets too much. You can come back to it, but 10 minutes. So, and as the illness changes, so does our coping change. I, up till just recently, was able to go to a big family dinner and seem to be, I might make mistakes and be a little embarrassment sometimes for my family, but a little laugh after. But it wasn't a big deal, whereas now I need not as many people. And I've noticed my sister-in-laws call us and say, we're just going to have a few people if you want to come. We're not going to have, because they used to have big gatherings. Yeah. So I've had to learn to say no if there's big gatherings. My friends have learned to slim them down. So lots of changes that people don't realize. To make a loaf of bread seems so easy. And to make a sandwich seems so easy. But if my husband wanted me to eat today, he'll just leave apples out, bananas, or maybe cheese, I can do that. Because making a sandwich requires a lot of work. The brain says, open the fridge, get the bread, get the peanut butter, get the knife. My type of dementia, and I'm not sure if it's the same with all of them, you can't seem to go from one thing to the other. And I would just stand there and not be able to do it.
You were mentioning, about reading, and I enjoy reading, but unfortunately I can't read books because I don't remember exactly what I read the day before. On the other hand, it's somewhat enjoyable because I can read the paper in the morning. You forget about it by noon, and then you can read it again in the afternoon. Yeah. So you get two for the price of one, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that was my next question. What do you do then to ensure that you still have a really good quality of life? For you, reading is one way. What are some other things you do?
Well, mine is my neighborhood. That was one of the first things I did was I decided that I can't survive by myself. I knew that. But I didn't want to rely on my family. They were much too protective. So I relied on my neighbors. And I live in a great neighborhood. They all know I have dementia. They all look after me. I don't have, when the kids are on their way home from school, they have to generally pass our house. They'll stop in, they'll have an ice cream. Are you doing okay, Wayne? Are you fine? Do you need anything else? They give me cards. I give them petunias for their mothers on Mother's Day.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But they just, the teacher from the first grade came by with her entire class on Monday. And it was just great. They just stood out inside of the house and they said, can you come out and play?
You like the young people.
Yeah. So they keep me young.
But
They keep me young.
The difference also, Ken, was you were able to reach out and you were able to be honest about your illness and say, this is what I have. And I think that helps to not scare people away, because if they see us acting perturbed, and we have different ways, we can be frustrated, we can be saying silly words, it can scare people. So once they know too what it is, everybody can be okay.
That's right.
And what do you do to ensure you have quality of life? What are some of your favorite things?
Oh, I had to change when I first got diagnosed, as I was feeling a little depressed with it all. And I had to change my thoughts to I'm not sick. I'm retired. And what would I do when I'm retired? And I love my dogs. My dogs are my life. So I walk my dogs 2 or 3 times a day. I go, and I wanted always to get in shape. So when I used to go to the gym 3 days a week, 4 days. Now I don't drive. It's not as easy, but I go twice a week to the gym and attend class, like 2 classes. And I line dance on Fridays with the senior center. And it's amazing because people say, how can you learn line dancing if you don't have a memory? Well, I have no idea how I learn it, but I'm very good at it, except if I went out tonight and the music came on, I wouldn't have a clue. If someone said, can you do this dance? I can't even tell you the name. I wouldn't have a clue until you guys all got up there and started doing it, and it just comes. I don't know where it comes, and all of a sudden I can do every step, and I'm doing it. And so I love it. I line dance with seniors every Friday for 2 hours.
Nice.
Yeah. And my husband and I think with this illness, a lot of people can become, it's a word, recluse. A lot of people that might happen to, and I think that's because of the fear of going out and being embarrassed, making a mistake. I would like to stay in. Sometimes I get where I don't want to go out, but I make myself.
Yeah.
I make myself still go see his sister-in-law. I make myself still go out and meet with friends. And that's the key, I think, is to keep going.
I wonder if you guys could give us some advice or tips for people who are family members or partners of how you can support somebody who's living with dementia. As I mentioned before, my mom has dementia, and so what advice would you give me of how to be supportive?
I think you have to recognize that the person has a lot of memories left. And it's how you, I think, key into those memories and bring them forward. And I guess one of the things that my grandchildren do a lot is pictures. They bring pictures to me all the time. Pictures from when I was a child. Pictures to when I got married, which I don't remember anymore, but I must be married. At least I've been told I'm married. And not only that, but their own pictures as they've progressed through the grades and so on and so forth and become older. Because sometimes those memories are gone. And pictures, for me anyway, help a great deal. I think the other thing is that if you're just trying to develop communication, find out what the person is interested in. What kept them going before? Chances are that's still there, and you have to lock into those memories of the person's earlier life.
I think the most important thing is to treat them with respect.
Yeah.
Because no matter if, like, I don't think I make big mistakes, and like I never embarrass myself, but I think there are people that may say or do things that may embarrass them, and I think if that happens, you need to treat people with respect. And I have no problems with that. The whole family treats me with respect. I mean, the little guy's too little. He doesn't know the difference. He just likes his hugs. But I am treated with respect all the time.
And you got to come back. What was the question again?
What advice do you give people who are, for instance, my mom is living with dementia. What advice would you give me of how to be supportive of her?
Love her. Yeah. That's a biggie. Don't correct her. That people do that a lot. I caught catching my husband lately correcting me, and I want to strangle him. Because I know like I know I don't know about anybody else, but I know when I make a mistake or I say something inappropriate, I know what I wanted to say. I know the wrong word come out. So please don't correct me. You know, it isn't important, the little details, so ignore them. When somebody's repeating themselves, don't tell them they're repeating themselves. Try to change the conversation maybe so it's on a different thing. I think later on in the disease, when she might not know you, just you need to know she loves you, because when I would walk in the room, my mother's eyes lit up and I was her world. She just didn't know I was the lady that looked after her. She just didn't know I was her daughter. I've had lots of people I heard about who wouldn't even go visit their parents because when they're at that stage, because she doesn't know me anyway. And I honestly believe my mother did know me right to I know she knew me to the end. She just didn't know that I was her daughter, you know. But I was the lady that she loved and trusted. So we need to be there for them.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough for your generous spirit and sharing your experiences with us.
You're welcome.
It's been amazing. Thank you. People with dementia experience and cope with the illness in many different ways. You heard here today how Yukola's experience after her diagnosis was very different from Chris and Wayne. Take some time to reflect on your own experience so far and join the discussion in our online community.